Hello, everyone. Once again, we are here at the Invisible Podcast Show. And today we have a special guest. I wrote down a few things about him here just to make an introduction to make it a little bit easy. But now he's a Bulgarian international player. Now he played a lot of times for Bulgaria. We can talk about it later. He's qualified coach, master degree in football management, UEFA MIP. He got his own foundation. Can explain a little bit later. He's my friend, Stiliyan Petrov. Thank you very much, my friend, to accept to join and on this conversation with me and Team Chase.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure, and this is the main thing. You finish with a friend, which the most important thing for me. So we managed to really understand each other through MIP. You mentioned it earlier, and we became closer. We understood much about our individuals, and we become friends, which is the most important thing, Gilberto.
Yeah, this is great.
Even you, when you were kicking me again, when you were playing against me, so I forgive you with that.
Not that much.
Stiliyan, so what was it like to play against Gilberto? And I'll ask Gilberto the same thing. So what was it like playing against Gilberto?
Very difficult because he was a very clever player, technically very, very gifted. He had a great awareness around the pitch. So he was always one move ahead of everybody else. His positioning on the field, on and off the ball was perfect. So to really play against him was really challenging. I had to really study the way he was playing, how he was moving around the pitch, what is his weaknesses. I couldn't really find many weaknesses, but it was always difficult. And he was playing in a very, very strong team, which made him even more dangerous.
Nice. And Gilberto, what was it like to play against Stiliyan?
Similar, because always Patch-wise spoke to us about Stiliyan. Pay attention, Petrov. Pay attention, Petrov. I heard it many times. Every time I had to play against him, against Villa, and of course you have to be alert and find out the way how to cope with that. But he was very smart. He didn't have much kick on his ankle, not many, because he was very smart. He knew how to play.
Well, I couldn't. I had to be smart because I couldn't run faster, Gilberto. You know that. So we talked about it before.
Yeah, it was here in your mind, I think. Always.
Gilberto, I saw you tweeted yesterday that Stiliyan was kindly coming to join us. And you know the little figures that you get? I think I've got a Gilberto Silva one here, these little figures.
I saw it. Yeah, number 19s.
Yeah, a guy tweeted he's got a Stiliyan Petrov and a Gilberto one, and he said that my two favorite number 19s ever. So that was quite nice.
Hey, we managed to play together on our MIP every time. By end of the week, we played a game. So Gilberto was my team a few times. So we did look well together. So I wish we could have played together as well when we could have run better.
I could be much better running a bit faster, I guess. My friend, so
love that.
When we're gonna go, I'm gonna talk a little bit about football, and I always like to just understand a little bit how was it for you back in Montana, if I'm not wrong, Bulgaria, somewhere. If the information are correct on the internet. How was it to play football when you were a kid? How it started for you? Is something that, you grew up and watch other players and you said to yourself, oh, this looks like something I want to play, this kind of game. Not professional when you are a kid, but grow up playing football.
I didn't really have a choice. My grandfather was working at the stadium. My father was a footballer as well, and my mom was a PE teacher. So I didn't really have a choice. I have to be good at school as well because my mom was my PE teacher. So I had to be in the best behavior, not just on the pitch, but off the pitch as well. Nice. But like I said earlier, I didn't really have a choice. My dad believed that I can become a footballer. He worked really, really hard with me. He was one of these old-fashioned dads. He will be angry when you don't train well or you don't play well. He will make me walk home and he would drive with the car behind me just to make and show me that I have to analyze my games and make sure I realize what I do wrong, how I can get better. So he was very demanding. He will come and watch every single training. He will watch every single game. We'll analyze every single session, every movement that I've made, every pass that I've made, why I've made the pass. He wanted me to realize what I was doing wrong, what I can do better, and how much I can practice. So he will do over and over the analysis on a game and training session, game, training session. At one point, I just didn't want to go in the car. I just wanted to walk. I didn't want him to speak to me. But it was a very small town. So I made my debut when I was 16. I had the pleasure to play through every single age group in the national team, which I was very proud. I always played with the older boys. I made my debut when I was 16, professional debut. I was in school, so I was pulled out from a maths lesson. So it was a really proud moment for me. It was a club where my dad was playing, and I only had the pleasure to play for about a year, and then I moved on. But what I'll remember from growing up in Montana is about the freedom, enjoyment, having my friends beside me, enjoying playing football. I would, these days you see a lot of young players will go and train 1 hour, 1.5 hours, and they go back home, and I think that they think that's enough. I mean, I'm sure you're the same, Gilberto. That's your training, and after that is the hard work, playing on the streets, playing against your mates, getting kicked, getting in the mud. It's raining. You playing until 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the evening. You can hardly see. This is where we became better. That's where we become stronger. And that's why growing up in a smaller city, it helped me develop as an individual and as a player as well.
That is for me very not that much pressure because there's a lot of pressure for you dealing with your father. Make all the analysis, because in football we have enough pressure to play the game, to perform. But, okay, I think this is the way he wants to push you to help you somehow. But in my case, I grew up in a very small village. It was really good because we have the freedom to work around. Everyone knows each other. And grew up on the street, play with my cousins, friends, and in school. But, football just became a little bit serious for me when I had my first trial. I was 16 back in wow, it's a long time ago, 93.
That's a long time ago.
Yeah, I was trying to remember. Then things changed. I came back work, after 5 months, work in a switch factory. For 2.5 years, just came back to the club again when I was 19 years old. And then things, went a little bit faster, if I may say that. It's on a different, this, I think this opportunity to be in the streets with friends, have the freedom, practicing as some technical in a club, but I have this awareness of the street helped me a lot. When I came to football to, let's say, to read properly the dressing room, I have the awareness, what I can do in a good way that can help me. But also to understand, the other side of the other guys, different cultures, backgrounds, and be more, let's say, social, not think that everything's just around me. Yeah, you said about pressure. How was the feeling for you? Because having this pressure, but playing a very young age in your first club, how was the feeling? Having this opportunity to be there.
I was nervous. Not long ago, I was speaking with young players, and we were talking about a debut, about what is the best to play under 23 or go on loan and play. I loved being in the first team dressing room. First day when I walked in, picked up from school, I went to the first team dressing room. I never trained with the guys. I sat down and I was very nervous. You know what? Sometimes there where you have to go to the toilet every 2 minutes and you pretend that you have to go. No, I just didn't want to. I didn't want to look anybody in the eyes. I was very worried. I was very anxious. I was very nervous about me being not playing. I knew I could play, just being around in that environment because I could see some of those players who I watched every single week. I'll go and, when I finish training, I'll go and watch the first team, and I'll see some of their big players and I'll look up to them. And all of a sudden, I was part of that environment. So for me, it was really strange. It was really scary. I was looking down. I was touching my laces. I was just looking everywhere else, but not in people's eyes. I just couldn't bear it. So now, sometime when I grew up and I became more experienced players, I always remember that. I always remember how I felt when I walked into the first team. What was the feeling? How anxious I was. So it was really difficult for me because also the pressure was on me. My dad was a former footballer. He played really well for the team. And everybody was expecting me to play well, to do something. So everybody was looking at me as what you're going to show us. So the pressure was always there. But talking about the pressure, I was okay with the pressure. I enjoy the pressure because I remember when I was younger, and I always talk about my dad putting pressure on me. I remember we played one of the big teams. I was, I think, under 14. We played, and my dad was saying, obviously, you're making a little bit of attention now. People know you now. You're playing with the bigger boys, so you've come down with the younger boys with your age. So be careful; they'll target you. And I say, yeah, I'll do that. No problem with that. 30 seconds, I got kicked, break my arm. Guess what? My dad didn't talk to me until I got back training.
Really?
My dad wouldn't call me, and later on in my career, when I'll sit down and I'll have a beer with him, I love having a beer because he still analyze, even if I play over 35 games, you still analyze my games. You tell me what I do wrong. So we have a great relationship. So I asked him why, and he said, you have to realize that you have to be smarter. You have to understand your position. You have to understand your strength. You have to know how to approach certain games. Sometimes you don't have to go full power into the games. You have to be more cautious. Know who you're playing against. So this was the learning step for me to understand how I can become better, because I wasn't the talented one. I was a little small kid, little bit overweight. So I had to really work harder than everybody else. I had so many players more talented than me. They never made it. They never played the professional football, and we still get together. They still talk about, wow, how did you make it? And you know what? You've got certain things in your character that, makes you better and different than others. And the resilience, the dedication, the composure, this makes you different. And sometimes that's why people talk about that, talent is not enough to make it. So for me, was that the case? I had to really put the work and understanding of how to become better. And I mean, Gilberto, the players, I had great idols as well. I mean, I had Hristo Stoichkov, Balakov, Lechkov. They played in big teams at that time, Barcelona, Sporting Lisbon. So I wanted to be like somebody else. By being like somebody else, I wanted to understand how to get to their level, how to get closer to them. So I had to learn in a different way. My dad was played a big part, and he was very influential of what I wanted to do and what I wanted to become. So I was kind of lucky, I would say.
Do you think that your dad analysing all your football helped you or hindered you?
I think overall it helped me because he created a very good habits for me. He created the habits that I became stronger, made me stronger. I would, even through a difficult time, I will always analyze. I knew what my strength is, what I had to work with. Is it physical or technical, awareness, tactical? So I always knew what I had to do, which made it easier for me. At the start, it was very difficult because, as a young kid, as a young kid, that's what we do with the young players these days. We don't realize that it's a learning process, and we have to be patient. But my dad wasn't patient. My dad was like, I can see you've got it. I have to get it out of you. So for me, it was difficult, but I understood. And you learn what you want to become. And obviously, I become better. And I start to understand why his demand was so high.
Interesting. So do you think it meant that can you see yourself doing the analytical stuff? Like you mentioned, you would have your training session and you go and watch the first team and watch them. Do you think that analytical kind of mindset that your dad brought to you and was doing with you, do you think you actually subconsciously started doing that in your game when you were from quite a young age?
Yeah, of course, because you always made it clear with you, if you think you're doing well, you know that others will do better than you. So whoever you face, is your midfielder, is your fullback, is your centre back, you have to understand how they play, what their weakness is, what's their position off the ball, on the ball. Obviously, I mentioned Gilberto earlier. You know how I needed to get to his game. You know, sometimes you drop very deep, you pick the ball, and you play the right passes, so start the right attacks. But sometimes you have the late runs into the box. So for me, it's understanding what's when is his when he makes his runs. Is he when somebody pull away, when the striker pull away into the channel, when they create space, how late he comes into the box. So for me, I had to analyze that. And at that time when I was growing up, I mean, the modern football at the moment, you've got all the analysis go through the club. You know what the opposition. That wasn't when we were growing up. We had to do on our own. But I had the good education about football, and I've managed to understand in a different way.
Interesting. Thank you.
No problem at all.
Stiliyan, I understand some of the difficulties you have, because it had to do with depression. Might have been a little bit difficult for you because, as you mentioned, I didn't want to go into the car. I just want my dad to be my dad, not my coach. But there are some difficulties we face, to play football. I had a lot of difficulties as well because I had to work in the factory. And then when I go back to the football, I was late. I had to catch up to everyone. I had to do extra training. These difficulties you have. What would you say? Through your experience for the younger players nowadays. When they have some difficulties, what kind of advice would you tell them?
Trust yourself. Believe in the process. And if you think that you can outwork everybody else, think again. You have to become smarter, and you have to surround yourself with the right people so you can get the right advices, and they can help you progress and get better. Is that friends? Is that coaches? Is that people that want to be around you? If you surround yourself with the right people, and you believe in the process, and you trust that process, then I don't think you have a problem as a young player, because then you're going to have the right focus and attitude to succeed.
Because then, facing these difficulties, it's a process in all our career. Every time, anywhere we are, we go. Because then you have to go for another challenge, at Sofia. This challenge you face, at the beginning, the process went through. When you live there, you believe that maybe your team and be successful, then to achieve, different steps in your career.
Yeah, you know what? We always get asked the question: Do you ever say that's enough? I've made it. I've succeeded. Every time I had a move, obviously from school into the first team, they're playing for a couple of months. Then I moved into one of the biggest team in Bulgaria. Bear in mind, when I moved in, I was only 17, and they had 14 international players. They were all playing the national team. They all had a great experience. So I walked in that dressing room, and I felt like, oh my God, what I've experienced in Montana, it was nothing compared here. I mean, the intensity, the demand, the sacrifices from these players to be the top, because they were the champions. They just won the double in Bulgaria. And I was just a young boy. So that when I walked in first time, they look at me, and when you see a young boy walking into that dressing room, there's the questions of what character he is. Can he make it? Is he going to be good part of that team? They start judging you straight away. And I'm looking and I'm thinking, what I have to do to impress them. So it was very difficult. I had the time to adjust and adapt, because I knew some of the players, obviously from the under 21, so they've helped me to go through that transition. But when you think that you go there and you make it and everything got to start, then I had to stop football. I had to join the national service. So for me, it was like six months I couldn't play football. So signing for CSK, I've done a preseason. I've played about 9 games, and they had to join the national service. So all of a sudden, I was like, how am I going to play football again?
How long were you in the national service for?
18 months.
Wow.
18 months. It was really difficult. I mean, this is for the first time teenager. You move into one of the biggest teams that you shave your head, you get the full equipment, you've got your gun, so you become a soldier. So every morning we'll be singing the national anthem. We'll be running. We'll be practicing. But what I've learned in the national service is about teamwork, respect, dedication, sacrifices, and what is a team success. Because in the army, it's about everybody together. One mess it up, we all mess it up. I mean, I'll tell you a story, guys. Is one we about six in the room. So 6 in the room. If anybody mess it up, everybody in the room get punished. So what I done is the captain. Obviously, we messed it up as a room. So he say you have to clean the 4th floor building. So he will put 20 sobs into a bucket, and he will just put the water down from the 4th floor to the bottom. So you can imagine the amount of soap that you have to scrub. We done it for about 14 hours. I mean, after 10 hours, we nearly there. So what he did, he went with the second bucket and he threw it again. So what that teaches us is about that you have to act together. So every morning we had to shave. Every morning we had to make our beds. Every morning we have to be on time. You can't be late. That's why, Jim, I was never late. That's why I'm never late.
I was saying at the beginning of the call, I was just setting up and Zoom was on. And Stiliyan popped up before I'd even set up the microphones and the cameras and everything. And I was saying that he's the first person ever to not only be on time, but also be early. You can guarantee Gilberto's the last person to join our calls whenever we do the podcast.
Hey, you've got the right to do that. But now you can understand how the learning process works for a young lad, because I was a young boy. I haven't had the experience. I moved to the big city. I was living on my own. I mean, the big city is where the life is, that where everybody wants to be. The big team, we had 20,000 every game. I'm moving from 3,000 in a game to 20,000. So it's a big jump. The pressure is next. We had a very strict manager. I was a little bit a wild boy. I wasn't, going to bed at the right time sometimes. So, but I always had that dedication and different approach to everybody else. Doesn't matter if I go to bed or not go to bed. I'll always be first in training. I'll always be after everyone in training. I'll always practice. So whoever people can say, oh, he don't do that or do that, I'm always professional when my foot stepped on the pitch. That was it, because I've loved playing football. That was me.
It's interesting what you mentioned about this experience in this camp, because if somebody mess up, I had to clean all the floors.
Yeah.
I remember when I was 16, I went to the camp, football. I didn't have to go to the army like you or many other guys and in Brazil. I arrived in a football camp, to live there in the capital. I had to share the room with, I think, 7 other boys, double beds and so on. I remember my mattress was a bit hard, but on the side there is a hole. I found out this hole, and then I said to myself, this is a place where I can put my wallet there. Nobody will touch it. It will be safe. I put my wallet there. I went for training session. When I came back, where is my wallet? It's not there anymore. There's no money. I just found out that somebody stole my money. And I was upset. But, some other guys had a problem until they found who was the responsible for that, and then they dismissed this guy. But in this process, sometimes it happened, but in this on a very bad occasion, because it's a young boy that did it with me and some other boys. He never made it. It's a kind of discipline. You don't have a kind of respect, because football is about this, about respect, about discipline, about supporting the other guys, to help the other go forward. This is, for example, in our experience at the MIP, this is how we learn, We didn't know it, many of us, when we get there, but we became very close during the process. And this experience for me was, I always thought about that. Sometimes, I always laugh but I was very angry when it happened, because later on, this guy, he just show up in the camp, nice clothes, nice trainers, and we need to get him.
They definitely got you.
But
Definitely got
He
you.
probably put that hole. He probably put that hole in the mattress for people to put their wallets in, and just went round to everybody's thing, thinking everybody put their wallets in there.
I never put money there again.
How big was the hole?
I think it was like a trap. The hole was a trap.
I just want to know.
Big enough to put my arm and lift the wallet.
Love it.
But I never did it again. It looks like a trap,
Yeah, sounds like it.
It was funny you mentioned the MIP. I mean, it was really interesting course for us, and we became really strong individuals. We built up great relationships, great friendships, which made us stronger, not just individuals, but all together, because it was something that we never experienced. We're going back to school when you're at that age, and finding out what is important in other side of football. So for us was what a great experience, and we had great chats, we had great conversation, and we managed to see football from a different side.
A totally different way, because we start to think about our actions, about things we should have done on a different way. But on our time, football, the football people teach us in the way we were taught in this course. Honestly, I would love, in the past when I was younger, have some kind of course that helped me to think better, on a better way, how to manage my time better, how to concentrate better, how to see my game on a better way, on a different way. Because sometimes we are there in football, just talk for football the next day. But, in this strategy, how can I be better? How can I make the analysis of my own game, the way I play? But, this course, was incredible, as you mentioned, Stiliyan, because very important, the way they helped us in this process we are, the transition time from football player to whichever we decide to do. Some of us are in a different doing this transition. Some became managers, was director, but I'll talk to you a little bit about the project you are in a few minutes, and tell us a little bit about the experience you have, because after Sofia, SSK Sofia, you went to Celtic and then Villa, when because we had to play each other. But tell us, the experience in the both clubs, and the comparison between them, the challenge you face, people that really influence you on in these clubs.
I love my time in both clubs. I had difficult time at the start at both clubs. Two clubs with a rich history, two European champions, trophy holders as well. They won. Obviously, Aston Villa won the league in England, and obviously Celtic Scotland. So I had the pleasure to play under clubs with a rich history, with high demands, with a big fan base. So I would say I was one of the lucky ones. I've played for Celtic for 7 years, and I've played for Villa 7 years as well. So I've got quite equal time with them. But I've managed to play through my time. I went through a very difficult time, but I would say 90% of my time was very enjoyable, very successful. I had the pleasure to play with some great players. I've created some great friendships, and I can say that I wasn't happy with how my career went and what I've managed to achieve. I had that pleasure to play with two great clubs. So overall, I would say I enjoyed it at both clubs. I've had most of the time under Martin O'Neill, which I have a very strong, very good relationship. Great manager, great person as well, which made a big difference for me. He knew me. He knew when to push me. He knew how to get the best out of me. And he knew how to challenge me in every single moment, if I was playing well or not playing well, and how to be better for the team. So I've learned a lot. I went as a young boy, and I've managed to mature, and I've managed to achieve quite a lot as individual and as a player as well.
Martin O'Neill seems like quite a strong personality. Obviously, I don't know him even a little bit as well as you, but I know some stories. Can you Can you tell us any stories about your time with Martin O'Neill?
Well, the good ones or the bad ones? Because he's been shouting to. He's been shouting to. It was always good, always when I moved from Celtic to Villa, all the boys at Villa were saying to me, "Oh, your dad, and he's bringing you here." But actually, people forget that when I was at Celtic, I was the youngest one of the team. Me and Martin only had a great relationship about what I'm doing on a pitch, because I had other more experienced players like Henry Claassen, Chris Sutton, John Hudson, Neil Lennon, Paul Lambert. I can go on and go on. So very strong individuals at the good age. So I was the youngest. So for me, it was about performing, making the manager happy. So in Celtic, I never had really a problem with him. Only once, when obviously I refused to sign the contract. So I've done an interview the day before one of the games against the United, and I've obviously spoke with the journalists, and I spoke about me not signing the contract, and I'll look for a better deal. So on the way to the game, he wouldn't talk to me; he would just pass me, but he won't say anything. So I can see he's not happy. So he made me travel with the team. He didn't play me. I was on the bench. Then after the game, we drew the game, so he couldn't pick to anyone. So I wasn't even playing. I wasn't even part of the game. So you pick point and see, and you young man, asking for more money. To get more money from me, you have to perform better. And he just turned around and walked out without even saying anything to anyone. I'm like, oh my God. So everybody just laughing. They're just laughing. He just left the dressing room. And I'm like, this is Martin O'Neill. He's showing you I'm the boss. You are not telling me what to do. I'm the one who made the decision if you worth it or don't worth it. So I've learned my lessons very quickly. I managed to understand him as a person and what his demands are. So for me, it was another good learning lesson.
Nice. I ask about those two, because I see you play most of the time in your career. I believe that is a very special feeling for both of them, because they were very important for you as well as the others. But both of them, because you play longer, is special. Would you return, I don't know, to be a manager at some point in one of those clubs?
I'd love to one day. I was obviously, when I retired, I was forced to retire, and I had a couple of years which I really wanted to find out what I really want, what my transition is going to be, how I'm going to proceed going forward, what I wanted to become. Because as you mentioned earlier, Gilberto, is we get lost in our transition. Is what we want to become. I mean, everybody wants to be a manager, and everybody wants to be a media, but we forget that so many players retire every year. Everybody wants to do the same thing, so it's very difficult. I went through all my coaching badges, which took me nearly 3.5 years, which is it's a long period of time if you want to become a manager. I've done every single one of them. I'd like to experience it one day. I've actually had couple offers in different parts of the world. I didn't think was the right opportunity for my family, for myself, for the people for my staff that I would like to work with as well. So I definitely had a couple opportunity. I haven't found the right one, but I'll probably like one day to experience that. I'd love to see how it is. And to be honest, we love pressure. That's what we built from. Yeah, Gilberto. It's about pressure with it. We be under pressure all our life, like becoming footballers, achieving, getting better and better. So I'd like to try. I hope I'll have that opportunity and find the right project to be part of. Would you like to be a manager, Gilberto?
Well, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. But before, I always thought more about it, when I was in the game, to become a sports director. And I became a sports director at Panathinaikos back in 2016 for 6 months only. And then I left my job, I decided to leave, on a not tough circumstance. I spoke to the president, it's time for me to go. Thank you very much for the opportunity, but I need to move on. And then I started to work with Fred, being his agent. He was at Shakhtar Donetsk at the moment, and he wants to somebody else. He didn't have anybody, and he came to me through a friend's recommendation. To a friend of recommendation, he came to me and I spoke. I said, "Listen, I don't know. I've never been an agent before. I just finished my job at Panathinaikos, and I don't know exactly what I'm going to do, but Well, I believe I can help you, but don't ask me now because if you ask me now, I don't have answer. And let me work, and I'll find a way to help you because he wants to move to England from Shakhtar. Let me start the process. How I became a football agent. I don't like sometimes to use the word agent. I like to use like I don't know,
Advisor?
Advisor?
Yeah.
advisor,
Brent
something
White.
like this.
I like
Yeah,
it, Jay.
I like to use this word. For me, it suits better. I don't know why, but this is how I chose. And then you start to work, and there was a process when he was in Ukraine until he moved to England. Almost 1.5, basically 1.5 year working to make things happen. But it just happened because he did very well on the pitch. He helped Shakhtar very much. Was one of the best players, and from outside now is how to help him perform better, advising him, giving the right advice, supporting him, because sometimes players want to talk when, especially when things do not go well on the field. He struggled in his first season, and the second was better. Now he looks much better. But it's a different way of work. You have to. When we spoke about MIP, MIP helped me a lot with some other course I have done before to do what I'm doing now, advising players I work with. Because when I always remember when I was there, I didn't have much of this advice, and people who just talk to you, at the same level. Because I talk to them at the same level. When they start to go, the coach, blah, blah, the coach, what about you? I always turn to them, I ask questions for them to think how they can become better, but take their own responsibility as well. It's always important. But it is very challenging. You don't know how to do things at the beginning. Maybe one day, I don't know when, but I would like to return as a sports director at some point. Maybe on a better structure and on different circumstance. Can be. I never put this, say no to this if I have opportunity at some point. But at the moment, I'm concentrated on what I'm doing, supporting the young players. I'm feeling happy doing what I'm doing. This.
And this is important because it's important when you go through that transition and you retire. You have to find your different identity, and you have to find something that you wake up and enjoy doing, something like your hobby, something with another purpose. And I've seen you in action, and I believe that you will be a very good sporting director, believe, because first of all you know football. You understand what the structure of a football club, what is demands, how you need to proceed. And I've seen you in action, going through that course, seeing you every day, getting stronger, getting better, getting more knowledgeable. This is something that a lot of players should do, because what you do, and you just said it yourself, is at the moment you enjoy what you're doing, but then you've got so many possibilities out there, and you've done it to yourself, because not many players will have the same possibilities to be in a different jobs and have different experiences to proceed in a different way. And you definitely have that, which is great to see.
So you guys have spoken about this MIP course. Do you guys one of you want to say what the course was? Because so there'll be people listening to this that won't know what the MIP course is, and I will be one of them. I know a little bit after speaking to Gilberto, but could you guys explain what it is a little bit?
MIP, is the course that we have tailor-made for ex-players, and it's been so very good, very important, because after that course, I think they are in the third edition. If I'm not wrong, correct?
Third edition, yes.
And many of the ex-players now, some of them became sports director. We have from the first group, Juninho at Lyon, Sports Lyon, Olympique Lyon, who are Sebastian
Cahill, yeah.
From our group, we have Maxwell was at Paris Saint-Germain.
Luis Garcia, Gaisca Mendieta.
This is 6 tidy.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I'll tell you what, some great games by end of the week.
I bet.
The top players, but apart from top players, everyone was top people. I think this is important. This we need in football, quality people that understand the game and go back to the game. This is what I tell my friends from football now when they are thinking to retire and not do anything about football. I say, change your mind. One day I was thinking the same way, but after I retired, I realized that my words football is my blood, my vein, in my soul. You cannot change the nature of yourself. What you can do is learn to improve yourself, to learn different skills. This is what we have done. But still, continue our conversation. Tell me a little bit what's the family means to you in your life.
It's huge. It's huge for me. Obviously, I come from a strong family. I always believe that family is something that keeps you right. I've managed to find a great lady that she's beside me still. This year we are 20 years marriage. We've got two kids, which is one of them just turned 18. The other one is 13, two boys. I'm really happy and I'm proud because I work really hard. I sacrifice. I know what it takes to have a strong family. It's something that I always believed in. On personal level, I went through a very difficult three years, which having the family beside me, having the right people beside me helped me to survive and still be alive. So that just can tell you how important the family is for me and how I cherish my family.
Yeah, do you mind me asking a couple of questions about that period in your time? Because I remember watching you at the time. So was it? I can't remember times. Were you being tested? Because it was Arsenal. Was your last game, wasn't it? And you went.
Arsenal away.
Yeah.
Arsenal away. We a couple of weeks before that there was a Muamba situation. So every club was asked to test and make sure that everybody go through different testing about their hearts and understand insurances and everything, all the carry on. But before Arsenal game, I was actually okay. I was training. I didn't feel anything going wrong. The day of the 2 days before that, my little boy had a temperature, so I didn't pay a notice or anything that I felt. The day before the game, everything was okay. We were down in London. Again, we had a good laugh with the boys. We were in the hotel. And the next morning, I woke up a little bit drained. I woke up a little bit of feeling fatigue. Nothing special. I mean, Gilberto, we've played through temperatures, we played through fatigues, we played through tiredness, through soreness. So it was something that usually as a player, you don't pay attention to. I didn't.
You're always tired of this.
Yeah, well, I'm always tired, put it that way. But it was nothing that ringing the bells, nothing that it was alarming. So the game, we went to the game, everything was okay. The adrenaline was kicking in. I was ready, I was prepared. Alex McLeish was the manager. And I've always, Mikel Arteta was still playing. So I always loved playing with him because we always had the rivalry between Celtic and Rangers. He played for Rangers, I played for Celtic. So obviously after that, I played against him when he was at Everton. So I always loved challenging myself against him. I always wanted to give him a hard game. So at that game, at the first half, the game started. But I remember Gal Clichy scored the first goal and I made the mistake. Literally, my muscles stopped working. My brain was not in the game. I felt there's something in my body is not right. I couldn't get closer to Mikel. I usually on his face. I knew how he was playing. I didn't want to give him time to get on the ball, to pick the right passes, to start the attacks for the team. So I was miles away from him. I was literally miles away from him. First half, it was a nightmare. The boys were on my back. Usually I push them to do the right things, to play the right way, to win. But this time, was like they were talking to me, and I didn't want to hear them. I just didn't want to hear what they're saying because I knew there's something wrong. So halftime whistle go. We walk in. The boys are still going on. I remember James Collins was still said, "Stan, what's happening? We are 1-0 down. Come on, we need to get better. What's happening with you? In the game." So that was the time we were walking through the tunnel, and I'm thinking something's not right here. And you would never think that it's something that is going to be life threatening in a couple of days' time,
or something like this, maybe.
Yeah, you would think it's something. You just having a day, one of these days that you just don't feel right. And we walk in and literally, sometimes you just don't think that you think that something is not right in your head. And I just start stripping, and I just wanted to The boys were on my back. They were like, Stan, what's happening? You should have done better for the first goal. You could have blocked it, usually gone and tackle it. And I said, I just had the challenge, just went, guys, I don't think I'm right. I think I should come off. And that's where the boys were like, they jumped in. They were like, no, you can't leave us now. Obviously, we were in a difficult situation. I think we were at the bottom. And they were like, no. And then Alex McLeish was like, Stan, no, you have to stay with the boys. And then we kept arguing, and rather than talking about the game, we kept arguing about me. And I was literally naked. I was naked because I didn't want to go in. I remember the kitman taking the kit, wet kit off there and taking away. So all the boys were jumping in, and I was. So then I'm looking at him sitting naked in the middle of everyone, and I'm thinking, I can. And then he's Alex McLeish went, you know what? I know you want to come off, but if you change your mind and you want to go back in, I'm happy for you to go back in. And then it's one of these moments that adrenaline, and I know everybody was on my back, and I went, okay, I'll go. And Kitman, his name was Ian, get me some kit. I'm going back in. To be honest, guys, I went back in the second half. I was just running. But my head, when your head is not right and you know there's something is going on, there's something is not right. I was there. We lost the game, and I wasn't there. So and then after the game, it's funnily enough, obviously I sweated out and maybe I felt a little bit better. I did my cold bath recovery because we had Chelsea in the following week. Then we went on a bus, and that's where I felt really, really bad. I felt like I'm getting a temperature, and I felt like I'm really tired and fatigued. And I'm thinking something's not right. So halfway, I was thinking I won't say anything. We lost, and obviously we had the issue or the halftime. I didn't want to raise that I've got a problem or anything. But the longer we went, I felt more fatigued and more tired. So I went to the doctor in McGuinness, and I said, Doc, listen, something's not right. I think I've got temperature. I feel very weak. So he got the temperature. I was like 37.8 or 37.9. So it was nothing major. So he said to me, take this paracetamol and get this antibiotic in case you develop something, and just replace next week. So make sure we cover ourselves. So I said, okay, I'll do that. So I went back home. I was really tired. I went straight to bed. And on a Tuesday, we had the heart tests. By doing that, the doctor said, let's just do random blood test. By doing the random blood tests, by cutting the long story short, by the Thursday afternoon, I was diagnosed with leukemia, acute lymphoblastic leukemia, which is a leukemia which you can see more with the kids or very elderly people, not at my age, which is the cancer in your blood. So it kills your immune system, literally. So I was told not how I went for a couple more tests. I had a bone marrow test. They confirmed it. And they said to me, you have to start the treatment now. I mean, I'm playing against Arsenal, playing in front of 60, 70,000. All of a sudden, you've been told that you've got leukemia, you've got cancer. You have to start treatment. You can't train anymore. I was looking through the room. My wife was crying. The doctor and the two physios were looking down. The doctor, he wasn't saying anything. And I'm like, hold on a second. What do you mean I have to start a treatment now? What about second opinion? What about what's happening if you're wrong? He said, no, we're pretty sure it's 99.9 that you're wrong. So I've managed to speak with Martin O'Neill, who's the manager at Sunderland at that time. His wife went through a completely different, again, a cancer, but completely different. He always spoke very highly of a professor who looked after her. I managed to get him. I managed to get the number. In the space of an hour and a half from Birmingham out down to London, I had another test, second opinion. And by the evening, I started treatment for leukemia, which first week was high dose of steroids. And I was told that I have to forget about football for a couple months. Not about how long and what the procedure will be for a couple months. And that's why my journey started.
Amazing, man. It's so do you think, sorry, I got a little bit caught up on it. My father has recently just beaten bowel cancer. So it's kind of emotional for me. And I've also got one of my friends, his 5-year-old son is fighting leukemia as well at the moment. So I just kind of hit me a little bit there. So my apologies. I don't normally have much more fun on this thing. But obviously you had a great news and you're with us today, which is the main thing. So it's so strange that you went from feeling a little bit crap, then 4 days later you were told you had leukemia. So do you think because you were doing these random tests, they got it really early, or was it something because you were an athlete, you were naturally quite fit, so you were fighting it more? Do you know?
I think I was just lucky. I think that test, sometime we've got our destinations and our moments in life. I think that was mine. Football was taken away from me, but probably would give me a chance to leave because I was diagnosed very early by luck, by what happened with Mwamba, and obviously the doctor wanted to do a random a blood test at that day. You can bear in mind that at that time I was negotiating another 3-year contract with Aston Villa. We were planning how my retirement will go. I was obviously 32. So we were thinking of what's going to happen, how everything will proceed, where we will go on holiday as a family. And 2 days later, we were in the hospital. 2 days later, everything's turned around. Following 3 years, I had 14 months of very intense chemotherapy. I went through a very difficult emotional times period. I went to dark places mentally. I was unstable for many times. I had so many arguments with my wife. I've stopped my treatment in the last phase because I couldn't take it anymore. My wife and my kids and my mom and dad have seen me in a state that nobody should see their kids or their parents or whatever you want to call it. It was an incredible journey for us together as a family. I had to work a lot with my kids about their mental approach, their mental health, because obviously my kids were younger and they were growing up. So most of the time they've seen the news about Stiliyan Petrov fighting cancer or Stiliyan Petrov surviving, rather than seeing what their dad achieved as a footballer or his goals or his good moments. Yeah. So it was really difficult for me to explain to them. I'm really glad because my son turned up 18 a couple of days ago. I'm still here. I can still see him grow, make mistakes, guide him, mentor him, help him to become better man, and what a better person to give him a little bit of advice as well. And I just enjoy every day, guys. I mean, Tim, you've been through it. We all have somebody who's been touched with cancer around us, and you know how difficult. You don't affect just people that fight it. You affect everybody that associated with that person. I had the pleasure to be supported through millions, through the football world, which not many people have that. Many people fight those battles on their own. So I had that support, that positivity, that positive energy. So I'm really glad, and I'm really glad that I've been through it, and now I can help others to go through these dark moments, because they are dark moments, to go through it, fight through it, and become idolized from others as well.
Yeah, because I remember, didn't you go back to a game, and at the 19th minute, because obviously you're on 9, all the fans clapped? And didn't they do that for every home game? Or I remember it was 9 years ago now, so that was a long time ago.
The Villa fans, the Celtic fans, I think Montana, CSK, they've done it through a few seasons. They've done it in the 90th minutes, home or away games, which it was incredible to see. I mean, most of my moments in the hospital, I couldn't remember. I had very high dose of chemotherapies. I had moments that I can't remember. I mean, I still try to remember certain things with my wife, who came to see me, who I've been speaking to. I've been sleeping for weeks because this is what high dose of chemotherapies does. And you know what? It's a moment that you see who you are and what you're made of. People talk about, did I have fears? Did I ask the question, I'm gonna die? Of course, everybody does that. If somebody say don't, it's lying. It's every day. But you know what? Sometimes we put these fake masks, not just through difficult battles, but obviously athletes and people around the world. You don't want to show your weakness. You don't want to show that it's something that is hurting you inside. And this is where the mental. Sometimes I speak about mental pressure with people, and I say, "Have you experienced it?" No. I said that you don't know what you're talking about. You haven't seen it. You don't know what you experienced. So it's a dark place. It was a dark place for me. It was.
Yeah. Some people don't want to accept their vulnerability sometimes, But I asked before about the family, because you mentioned the family importance of them, of the past year for you in your life, and not only football, but in your life in general. And in this tough time you face, you understood, I believe, much better how important they were to you, your family, close friends. And then you have the opportunity to help foundation. What is the lesson, Stiliyan? You can, what have you learned all this time, especially in this would like to share with us, because this for us, I believe would be important for us to learn some, special, words to describe, the what you have learned would like to share with us.
Enjoy your life, guys. Appreciate every single thing in life because I learned one thing. When I wasn't ready to lose my life, I wasn't to lose the people that I love. I wanted to fight with everything I had in me. I went through pain. I went through dark places. I can say here, I put myself, I paid myself. I've made myself, weak. I had to stand brave, but I appreciate every single moment in your life because it was closer to be taken away from me, and I cherish every single moment. So what I would say, it's a very simple thing, and people will be looking for the big words. I don't say big words because I enjoy every moment. Enjoy your waking up in the morning. Enjoy your kids. Enjoy your family. Enjoy the people that you love because you still got the chance to stand and see them every day. I was in a position where I didn't know if that was going to be possible. So even to this day, I appreciate every day. I wake up every day. I mean, you've seen me so many times. I always smile. I always enjoy. I have to because I never forget. I can't forget, and it's going to be something that I have to carry with me all my life. But I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to do that and to show others that appreciating life and being alive is the best thing.
Absolutely. Well, it's pleased you came through. Otherwise, this podcast would be a little bit boring.
The good things for us to learn and share. You have spoke a little bit, about when I asked about return to the clubs. You played, you managed them at some point. I spoke about the retired post career, post football career, as me and you, we are now having our challenges. When you look back, because we are in this transition process now, we are, let's say, figure out what we are going to do properly. Maybe we have something in mind. Maybe I have now, maybe I change some point, but never mind. Looking back, there is any regret or what I have done as a player?
Oh, as a player,
Yeah.
I would have prepared myself for that transition because I know that the football was taken away from me and I had to do it and I had a way. But I would have prepared myself better. I mean, I found out that my transition and my retirement, I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't prepared. If I had any regrets, will be not getting better as a person, individual. Because as a player, I've become better, but as individual, it's something that I wanted to become after. I never pay attention to it. And this is something that I regret. I had so much time. I always found excuses not to do it. So if I have regret, it's paying attention to what I wanted to become afterwards. Because, Gilberto, people say we've got time. I didn't have time. It came too quick. So if I have a regret, I would be what I would want to become after, because I know what I wanted to become. I know what I had to do. I know what my purpose was. So I'll probably regret that I didn't prepare myself for that retirement.
One question we always ask our guests is, obviously one of the main things that everyone misses is the changing room and the banter in the changing room or the locker room. What's the best joke you saw someone play on somebody else during your time as a football player?
Oh wow! Listen, guys, I've seen it all. I've seen. I won't mention my name. Listen. I've like I said, I've been in a great dressing room with some great banter. I've seen all sorts of things. I think people filling up cars with cones. I've seen people cutting trousers. I've seen people wetting all the tracksuit that people come to training ground. I've seen all sorts. I mean, where should I start? But this is part of the dressing room. This is the banter. This is what we miss. This is why a lot of footballers want to become coaches, because it's the closest thing as a player. You're still in the dressing room. You're still on the pitch. You're around the boys. So that's why a lot of us say, no, coaching will be great. Yeah, but not everybody can be, and we do miss it. So if I need to say about jokes, there's so many. But
choose the best one, because we had one from. You don't have to mention any players' names. So Ruud told us a story. We think it was in Chelsea, but basically one of his teammates got a new car, and when it got delivered, 2 players went in and put 2 herrings. Herrings are like the smelliest fish in England, and they hid herrings in the gearbox that were never found. So basically, this brand new car was ruined. And Ruud was basically trying to tell the story, but laughing with tears coming down his face. So he couldn't tell it. So you don't have to mention names or clubs, so they can stay anonymous. But if you can think of the funniest, or but maybe the most awful one.
I apologize today. If I need to pick one, I'll put a nasty one. I've seen a player to poo in somebody's pocket and let him go home with the poo in his pocket. I won't mention the name, but I'll tell you it's happened. It always going on. It's some people find it disgusting, some people find it a banter. You've seen different people, but I'll pick that one and I'll leave it out there.
It's pretty bad. I'm guessing that was in Celtic.
I can't tell you. Said no names, no teams, so I can't tell you.
Fair enough.
I'll probably be chased for that one.
I'll leave it. That's. I don't think we need any more information or an explanation about that.
Yeah, I think that's quite clear.
Yeah, it says exactly. I don't know where to go from there with that. I wasn't expecting that. I don't know what question you could follow up with that, Gilberto.
Well, yeah, you know what? Don't ask the question if you're not prepared for an answer.
You're absolutely right. If you don't want the answer, don't ask the question.
He's very well prepared, my friend. Stiliyan's very well prepared. Stiliyan, we are come to an end, very close now. We are holding you for quite a long time. I want to leave you to rest, to leave you in peace in a few minutes. But before, tell us a little bit about Player for Player. What is Player for Player?
Player for Player is a player-led initiative. It started on the MIP. Gilberto, I mean, you talked about it a few times about what it is. We just try to help players to create better opportunity, to become stronger, to have a voice, to be prepared for every stage of their career. Sometimes as a player that we receive a lot from football. So us as individuals, people around MIP, people around football, we want to help others not to make the mistakes we made. So we try to guide them, mentor them, and create those opportunities for them and make sure that they realize how strong they can become, because we as a players, and I don't know if you're gonna agree with that, but we develop great values, great skills throughout our career as individuals and as players, but we don't realize how powerful they are and how we can transform these skills and values into different businesses, into different side of football, business side, administration side. That's why we're going through all the coaching badges. That's why we're going through educational courses to be stronger, to be better, to make football in a better way. So Player for Player stands for one thing, is help others become better, stronger, and have a voice to achieve what they want to achieve, because not many players out there understand and realize how powerful they can be.
How people, if they want to get some information, how they can find?
They can go through website www.playerforplayer.com. They can see what we can do, how we can help, what services we can offer, and how they can get in touch with us. It's very simple. They just have to click.
Do you want to have any other questions?
I think I'm still reeling from the poo question. So
my last one to let you go.
Okay.
What would Stiliyan say to Stiliyan when you were 8?
If you could tell your younger self something, what would that be? And now he stole it from me and asked all the guests, and he says it before I get a chance to answer it. So I'm happy that your Wi-Fi failed and I get to ask it for once.
What do I tell young Stiliyan?
Yeah.
Walk that journey every step of the way. Don't regret anything.
Good. Nice. Love it.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Pleasure.
Cheers, sir.
You, thank you very much for the love story, fantastic story you told us, It's always a pleasure. See you. Glad to
Team,
speak again. All the best to you and
team,
family.
thank you, guys. Pleasure.
No worries, mate. Great to meet you, Steve.
Yeah. Bye bye.